I asked ChatGPT to give me relationship advice, and then I told it to reverse the arguments, basically meaning that whatever advice it gave me, it should have given me the opposite. Here's what it said. Okay, so let's first check out what kind of advice it's given, and then let's discuss on it real quick. And then I'll go to the opposite points where it actually disagrees with itself, and I'll also give some points there. At the end of this video, you'll be incredibly confused, and you'll not know what or what not to do. You'll probably be wondering, well, what do I do now? Do I do this or do I not do this? But I promise you, if you stick around until the end, you'll at least learn something. First one was communication is key. It says you should be open, actively listening, honest about your communication. That's quite true. If you're in a relationship or you would like to be in a relationship, listening to the opposite side, listening to the person's feelings and thoughts can be quite effective. You should never be wandering off, and if you are wandering off, you should tell them you're not really able to focus right now and that you care for their feelings and you would rather listen to them when you actually have your thoughts in control. This would actually show some sort of respect and a very honest communication path. Maybe not path. Mutual respect. So healthy relationships are built around this, it says. Yes. They really are. If you're not respectful to your partner, how could you ever have a conversation to begin with? Respect is quite important. So trust is the foundation of any relationship. That's true, you should be able to trust each other. Quality time. Now there is something that's quite difficult to get these days. People want to spend quality time together, but everybody is caught up in their own things so much, it can be difficult. Compromise. You should be able to compromise from yourself. If you have a plan that day, but she or he wants to do something else, they want to have dinner with you instead, you might want to cancel those plans because it's a relationship and you should compromise. Do I need to really explain this? Okay, let's think about this. You might say, well, I have had these plans for days. They should compromise by making time another day. And that's true, but the thing is, it's a balance. You have to both be able to compromise. If it's you today, the next time around, it should be them compromising. Obviously, if it's always you compromising, that's not so good, and we'll get there. Maintain independence. Be yourself. Be who you are and not become like this fusion or one. You know, in Yu-Gi-Oh, there's cards, 2 cards, and then you use this fusion card and then they become one. That looks cool and it's usually a really good card after the fusion. But don't be like that. You should still be separate cards on the field, attacking together or defending together. It's fine, but don't become just one, because then you'll lose your self-identity and they will lose it too. And then you're not really in a relationship anymore. You're just a fused monster created together, and at some point, you'll start questioning who you really are. It can happen, but it doesn't have to happen. Maybe you can fuse each other, it's fine. Again, we'll get there. Healthy conflict resolution. Basically meaning that when you're in a disagreement or you're arguing, you should try to fix it with as much respect as possible, not trying to force any blame on any party, and that would be much healthier. It could be true. You're always looking for that win-win-win situation. I don't know if that's ever possible, because if one side is winning, then the other side should be losing. What would make sense is not win, not lose, not lose. So basically, you both are compromising something. But yeah, I don't know if that makes sense. Show appreciation. Say thank you. Say, it's so good to have you in my life. Even if it's something simple, even if they just brought you your water, or you lost your phone and they saw it somewhere and they brought it to you. The simple things deserve appreciation. It can get easy to just take somebody for granted, especially over time. Days and weeks pass and you start to just not even thank them anymore because it's become a routine, a habit. You forget your phone and they bring it to you. It's fine now. It should never be fine. You should still appreciating them. And if you're not, start saying thank you now immediately. Go to them, call them, and say, hey, it's great to have you in my life. It's fine. Just send a text message. So easy to do, but so often overlooked, and it can damage relationships where people feel like they're being taken for granted. Seek help when needed. So if you're having trouble, it could be marriage, it could be relationship, and things are not working out, it's okay to look for professional help, whether it be family therapist or just a single person, like one-to-one therapy. It can be eye-opening to certain things that you may or may not need. Now, these are all fine, but let's move on to the part where ChatGPT disagrees with all of the points that I've made until this moment. Communication is overrated? Maybe. But why? Well, it's easy to misunderstand each other. The chances of misunderstanding rise up the more you talk. Even the smallest of things could be misunderstood because you're trying to communicate every little detail, every single thing. And if it's being done on the phone or if it's not even face to face, it could be so much easier to misunderstand each other, especially in text messaging or over the phone. People don't see your facial expressions. If you're joking, nobody knows that. If you're joking in a text message, it looks like you're dead serious. That's why when you're trying to stay in touch all day with a significant other, with somebody you care about, it can open up mistakes. It can cause these misunderstandings to rise. Or it can be overwhelming. Have you ever had one of those people in your life? It could be a friend even. It doesn't have to be just a relationship idea of love. The person always tries to stay in touch with you. Even in family members, it can happen. They always ask you where you're now, what you're doing now. They're curious about you. They're wondering about you. And you're being overwhelmed. Yeah, this is communication and it should be good for the relationship, right? But, I mean, come on, stop, It's like, okay, let's play it out. Hey, I'm fine, how are you? Good, I'm just sitting around. I just told you I'm sitting. I'm working on this project. I'll tell you the details when I get home. No, I do care about you. Okay, well, you see that? I'm becoming overwhelmed by the very idea that somebody is constantly texting me even though nobody is. Mutual respect is a myth. I'll go one step further. I'll say mutual respect is bull. There, I said it. I did. I'm not gonna apologize. Okay, I'm gonna apologize. I'm sorry that I said it. I'm sorry for my French. But it's true. Mutual respect, in this day and age, it's being misunderstood quite often. Having some sort of respect to a certain limit is obviously necessary and important, but too much respect, it can cause problems. What I think when I say too much respect is usually this: showing the other person or giving the other person the freedom of yourself. What does that mean? That means that you're respecting every decision, every little thing they do and say, so much so that you're not introducing yourself into the relationship, meaning you're giving them the freedom of yourself. It's no longer a relationship. This is basically just two people doing separate things. And I'm not going back to the fusion part. You're on completely different decks. You're not even in the same deck as two separate cards. Think of it that way. You're saying yes to everything they say. You're agreeing with everything they say. You're no longer really an individual. You're no longer trying to be involved in their life. You should easily be able to disagree with them. Over time, you will build this resentment within you. You'll have contempt to this person. Let's say your partner has worn something, right? Maybe you think that it shows too much cleavage, and they ask you your opinion. Now you're respecting them. You're respecting them as a person. You don't want to say maybe you could wear something underneath or try to show less cleavage, or it just doesn't look good on you. Instead, you're saying, yeah, this looks great. But when you're going out, at the back of your mind, you're always going to think about, well, it's just too much cleavage. People are looking at her or him. Everybody's staring at them. And I just don't like that. You should not show that much respect that you're having resentment. If it's your thoughts, you have to speak out. You have to communicate. Not over-communicate, but you should communicate. See, there's always a little bit of a limit to all these steps, which is why it was easy for ChatGPT to immediately disagree with itself, though I did ask it to do so. It wasn't just doing it on its own, but yeah, you get my point, right? Trust is overemphasized. Yeah, it is. And I will use a previous example, like showing too much respect. If you show too much trust, you might get disappointed at some point. Let's say you trust your partner so much so they're free to do whatever they want. They say they want to go on vacation with one of their girlfriends or boyfriends, and it was an old friend. And you're thinking to yourself, well, they've been friends for many years. Obviously, I'm not gonna hold skepticism towards them. I'm not gonna be skeptic about this. There's nothing that would happen. You're trusting them completely, and that's fine. But not really. It's not fine. Don't do that. I disagree with that, and I know many people will be angry at me for saying this. The thing about human feelings and emotions is you never know what or when something could be attractive to a certain person. We're drawn towards each other. It's totally normal for a person to have a sudden feeling towards another, especially if they're feeling upset, depressed, or something has happened. You're broken and this person just seems to be so caring. You could be super happy, something really good has happened, and because of your exhilarating emotions and just this feeling of success, you could still be attracted to them. You just want to share that good moment. And maybe none of the above is true, but the person is just super handsome, super beautiful. You could still have those feelings. I'm not saying don't trust your partner, trust them, but there has to be a limit to this trust. Because otherwise, you will be disappointed. It's true. And maybe you won't be, and maybe it's been 20 years and you've never been disappointed in your partner, and you're commenting right now, you're saying, hey, I've been in this relationship, I've been in this marriage for 20 years, I've trusted my partner completely, nothing has happened. That's so great for you, I'm so happy for you, but that's not always the case. Which is why it's healthy to have some sort of skepticism and fear of losing that person to something. It's healthy. It's healthy to have that doubt. It is. It shows that you care about them. It shows that you love them so much that you would rather be certain that they stay in your life forever. So yeah, trust is overemphasized, yes. Quality time is a fantasy. It mostly is. Trying to spend quality time can be so difficult, especially if you both have different tastes, if you both have different hobbies and lifestyles. One person might be interested in dramatic and sad movies, and the other person just loves Batman and action movies or horror movies. And yes, you can sometimes compromise and watch each other's movies and you can enjoy it, but at some point, you're not going to want to. You're going to feel like it's a waste of time, and you both are going to watch separate movies, even during the same time of day in different rooms maybe. Maybe you're a gamer and the other person just loves going out and traveling. Guess what's going to happen? You're either going to have to compromise and travel with your partner, or they're going to have to sit at home and watch you play or play something else on the other side. Or they're going to be traveling while you are playing at home. And you're not spending quality time because it's a fantasy. It's true, this happens quite a lot. Unless, of course, you're a perfect match. You have the perfect taste for each other. You both love traveling. Go ahead and travel, and it's great. You both love gaming. Go ahead and game together. It's great. Lighting has changed again. I'm sorry about that. There's some clouds in the sky, and they're blocking the sun every now and then. Or they're opening up the sun every now and then, which changes my color. I'm like a chameleon. I hope I don't get copyrighted. Apparently there was one I missed, and it was support each other. It's really important to support each other's needs and thoughts and ideas and endeavors. But let's get real. You can't always support each other. It can be important for a person to handle the roadblocks or the difficulties ahead on their own, because you're not always going to be around. Or you're going to be thinking, well, I'm always supporting them in their things, but they never show that same support towards me. This could be because they have no idea how to help you, or maybe you haven't communicated that with them. Either way, you're having resentment now. Always focus on your own goals first. Try to move forward with them. And if you have the time, great. Support your partner in their goals as well. And if you need help, ask them to support you too. Compromise leads to resentment. It's odd because almost every single topic that we're covering here has some sort of area where it can lead to resentment. Too much of anything will usually lead to resentment, or too little. If there's not enough communication, it can lead to resentment. If there's too much, it can lead to resentment. Resentment is something that is so easy to achieve or reach in relationships. Once again, there has to be a balance. If you're always compromising, you're going to be unhappy. You're going to resent the other person. There's going to be an effect of dominance where one partner is always going to be more effective than the other or more powerful because you're always compromising. Let's say you've been compromising for 5 months and then you've finally just filled up. Before you explode, you tell them your opinions. And you ask them to now compromise for you. They might actually backfire because they've gotten used to you compromising. They're now in power. Something like this could be given as an example to the series of House of Cards. And if you haven't seen it, there is a power dynamic where one part always compromises more of themselves in order to make the other part happy or in order to achieve their own goals together. But eventually it backfires and resentment sets in. And it might with your relationship as well. So keep that in mind. Do not show too much compromise. Obviously a little bit is okay, but only if the other part is also open to compromising themselves. Independence can lead to distance. Wait a second, I thought we should have been independent and not fuse each other. Well, yes, but if you're completely independent, so much so that you're not even on the same page, then you will start growing apart, whether it's emotionally or physically, because you're focusing on your own projects, on your own lives, on your own interests, and of course you start moving apart from each other. It's weird because it almost conflicts the idea of quality time, right? And we did mention quality time is a myth. It's hard to reach, especially if you two have different ideas of having fun. If I had to give another Yu-Gi-Oh example, and I'm sorry for those who don't get it, the fusion card, right? You fuse each other. I think it's okay to every now and then fuse each other. And then there's this other card, and I forgot its name, but I'll try to show you a picture of it. The diffusion or diffusion or something, where you can once again separate each other. Don't be individuals all the time. Sometimes become one and do something that the other person enjoys. And then, once again, defuse or diffusion each other. Next time around, once again, fuse and do this time the other person's things that they enjoy. I hope that was articulate. I don't think I explained myself quite well there, and I'm sorry. Healthy conflict resolution is unrealistic. It really is. Especially in the heat of the moment, it's difficult to stay calm and collected, and you could just burst. You could say things that hurt the other side, which you maybe didn't want to really say, but it's the heat of the moment. You can't really control yourself all the time. So it's unrealistic to think that there's a way to give a healthy resolution out of this. And sometimes it's best not to talk about it, at least in that moment. Wait until some time passes and you both have the time to cool down and then get back together. Get back together to discuss the topic at hand without being aggressive towards each other. Now, you might be thinking, let's just solve the problem immediately instead of throwing it under the carpet and hoping that our feelings will, calm down or whatnot, because you might fear that if you keep it bottled inside you, it will become much worse. Not necessarily true. I didn't say wait for a year. I said go on about your day for a few hours or a few days, whatever it may be, and then come back and discuss it. When you try to resolve it immediately, it can get worse. And there can be unresolved issues. Some topics you might never find common ground on. Sometimes it's best to just accept it and move forward. You know the common saying, we'll just agree to disagree. I always had difficulty understanding this, and for those who didn't understand it still, you're both saying, this is my opinion, and the other person is saying, this is my opinion. And you're both agreeing on it. You both are in different places, you both are disagreeing, but you're like, whatever. We're disagreeing, but we're not gonna argue anymore. We're just gonna move on. And that's it. Agree to disagree. I think that's a perfect phrase and something that you should do a lot in your relationship. Obviously, if it's every single day, there may be other problems and you might seek professional help or actually sit down and talk about what it is that's always causing these disagreements every single day. Appreciation is overrated. Now, there's something that you don't hear every day. I thought we weren't supposed to take us for granted. It's true, but imagine this. I always thank you for everything that you do. I always say thank you for being in my life. I appreciate you. It's so nice to have you. At some point, you're going to become overwhelmed and the words are going to lose meaning. Let me show you what I mean by that. I appreciate you, 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 I appreciate you. At some point it becomes to appreciate you. It doesn't even look like a word anymore, and it's going to be the same in your mind. Having it sprinkled around the cake could be so much more effective than just spraying the whole cake into that sugar coat. And it's going to be more delicious too, because when you get to that sprinkled area, it's gonna taste really good. But if it's everywhere, it doesn't really have any specialty to it. Another thing is, actions do speak louder than words. Your partner might always be saying thank you and appreciate you, but never really do anything to show that appreciation back. I thought appreciation was good. Well, it is good, but if you constantly appreciate me without really giving me a reason to appreciate you, the words are gonna lose meaning, whether it's sprinkled or not. We have got to show each other some sort of reason to appreciate each other. Otherwise, it's pointless. It is. Seeking help is a sign of weakness. Well, I'm not so sure if I agree with this, but let's see what ChatGPT told us in order to explain it further. I actually want to read exactly what ChatGPT says about this before I make arguments and direct everybody's hate towards me. There's a belief that individuals and couples should be able to solve their problems on their own. Relying on external help can be seen as a failure to manage personal and relational issues independently, suggesting a lack of strength or competence. Okay. Privacy concern. Okay, many people value their privacy. Okay. Stigma. There's often a social stigma attached to seeking therapy. Some people might worry about being judged by friends or family. Belief in natural resolution. Now, I'm gonna disagree with seeking help as a sign of weakness with ChatGPT here. And I think even ChatGPT kind of disagreed with itself and tried to make its points so clear that it had to give us 4 different reasons and examples or topics to discuss in order to make its point clear. I do not believe that seeking help is ever a weakness. The lighting has once again changed. If anything, it is a sign of strength. You know yourself, you understand yourself, and you're willing to be open about it in order to save a relationship or to make a relationship more functional, more hopeful. How can that ever be weakness? It does not make sense. And yes, it would be great if you could naturally fix your problems and find a common ground, but it's not always the case. There is a reason why there are doctors out there, especially with bacteria, right? You need antibiotics in order to get rid of them. Otherwise, they will just grow and grow and grow in you and maybe even cause you to die. You could do everything right, work out, eat healthy, but bacteria is something difficult and something actually impossible to beat on your own. And the same can be for relationships. You might need to talk to someone. Someone might need to look at your relationship and tell you exactly what you're doing right or wrong. When you're in a relationship, especially if it's been for a long time, you can lose perspective. You just constantly look at the same spot and you lose perspective. And as somebody from outside the relationship can show you what you're doing wrong because you might have thought that you were doing everything right. It's good to seek professional help if you really believe you need it, whether it's individually or in a relationship. So I think we can disagree with this one, and we can agree with ChatGPT. And we can agree to disagree with ChatGPT about this theme. I tried to rhyme the end of the sentences there, sorry about that. And I think that marks the end of our video today. I just wanted to tell you and show you why it's never really a good idea to maybe ask ChatGPT or even Google for relationship advice, because there is no true relationship advice. You can be right and wrong in the same topic. There are agreements and disagreements in the same sentence. Compromise is good and bad. Trust is good and bad. Mutual respect is good to some extent and bad to some extent. And it's not always a little bit is the best. If you're showing too little trust, the other side might start to feel overwhelmed by you because you're constantly skeptic about them or about their whereabouts. And showing too much trust would disappoint you. Having a little bit of quality time can be really good, can be really beneficial. You don't have to have insane amounts of quality time together, or even moderate amounts. A little bit is enough here. Too much can be too much, or too little can even be too little, depending on the people in the relationship. Maybe your partner wants to spend more quality time with you, so you need more than a little bit. There is no right or wrong, there is no perfect answer when it comes to relationships or even friendships. It doesn't matter. People and connections, they are so, they're impossible to judge and impossible to just tag. You can't just put a tag on it, say this is how it works, because that's not how it always works. That's not how it always should work. Dynamics play a big role. Everybody is different and every relationship is different, and thus there is no general advice that can be given. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Tell me what kind of difficulties you've had in your relationship, what kind of limitations there were, which areas you had the most struggle with, and what maybe helped your relationship to get better. Please do mention them in the comments. I read all of the comments and I try to make notes to them, and maybe we can discuss the things that you've learned in the next video. Also, I'd appreciate if you give me suggestions what we can talk about for the next video for the true user. If you did like the video, leave a like and subscribe so we can grow as a channel. See you in the next video. Stay true user. Stay true to you. And don't forget to be true you. That was kind of lame. I'm not gonna lie. Cut this part, all right? Thank you. Just cut this part. All right.